Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel Wine with Jimmy. I hope you're doing wonderfully well and tickety-boo. So I'm your host, Jimmy Smith, and on this channel, we do a lot of wine educational videos to help you through your WSET studies. So this video is going to be looking at the WSET Level 3 certificate on the growing environment, specifically growing environment problems. And I've always said this, being a grape grower, it is tough. There is many things that can go wrong. Of course, that means that WSET examiners can ask you many questions. So it's a great idea to give you the confidence in order to answer those questions very successfully. So this presentation will be split into two sections. The first section, we will be discussing winter freeze and spring frost, as you can see at the top of that slide. That's going to be available as free content to everybody on this YouTube channel. Part two, looking at intense sunlight, cloud cover, drought, and excessive rainfall, will only be available at www.winewithjimmy.com. That's my e-learning portal, which is an exceptionally great portal. It gives you huge amount of resources to really help you and supplement your studies of the WSET certificate. Very useful if you go across there and have a look at everything we have to offer, including flashcards, multiple choice questions, short written answer questions, and of course, a lot of video content. Okay, so if you do have any comments or questions or concerns, you can get in touch with me here at Wine with Jimmy by commenting on this YouTube video down below. Please make sure you click subscribe. Otherwise, get in touch via the social media that you see at the bottom of every slide, or direct at www.winewithjimmy.com. Okay, so let's get stuck into some questions. The way that this will work is that we'll go through winter freeze, a typical type of question you may be asked about it in terms of what it is, what it does to the vine, and how grape growers will manage it. And we'll do that across many of these problems that may be faced to a grape grower during the growing season and beyond. First of all, then, we are looking at winter freeze. Now, this is actually outside of the growing season. So here you'll see split into three sections. What is winter freeze? Describe the effect on the vine and a management technique. So at the bottom here, I have actually included as well on each slide where you're likely to find these questions, because it is unlikely that you will be given a full 25-mark question on viticulture. They are found within other questions. So perhaps a question about Napa Valley or Chile or France or Burgundy or whatever it may be. So they are found as viticultural parts of regional country questions or grape variety questions as well. So here it says typically found in questions about Malbec or Canada, talking about winter freeze, because Malbec is a variety that suffered heavily with a winter freeze in 1956 in southwest France. Thus, there's not much left of it today because it was replanted with other types of grapes, grape varieties. And Canada today does have quite severe winter freezes, specifically in areas around Niagara Peninsula and the Okanagan Valley. So those areas can be very excessively cold in winter. So let's talk about, first of all, what is a winter freeze? So a winter freeze is where temperatures in winter will fall below -20 degrees Celsius for a prolonged period of time. Now, the texts, of course, are created here in the United Kingdom, so we are on the degrees Celsius scale. They will often give you the option for Fahrenheit as well. So say both of those if you work in the Fahrenheit scale. So that's what a winter freeze is. What does it do? So to a vine can be damaged or even killed, especially at the Graft Union, which is the most vulnerable point. So that is for 2 marks. We are not going into detail about the Graft Union here on this question, but I will now to give you a bit of understanding, a bit of fundamental understanding. The graft union is the part of the vine which connects the rootstock to the scion. That's the root, which is normally American species, to the scion, which is normally the Vitis vinifera. And they are connected together with a bit of woodwork. That's what we call a graft union. It therefore is not a solid vine completely for most vineyards in the world. Therefore, that is a weak point of the vine because it's a human point of the vine. It's what we have connected together. And therefore, this is what can be damaged the most. Of course, there are vines in the world that have not gone through grafting because of the location, maybe the type of soil. And that's because phylloxera hasn't actually affected that type of area. And therefore, you may not have such an effect as winter freeze in areas such as that. But that's slightly above our pay grade for this question. So let's talk about a management technique that grape growers can employ, what they can do to combat winter freezes. So if they find themselves in an area which is very commonly affected by a winter freeze, what can be done? So let's have a look. So the answer here is around earthing up. So earth can be used to cover up and protect the graft. So often we are looking at the graft point of a vine being quite low to the ground because it's basically where the root will meet the Vitis vinifera scion. So therefore, you only need to really mound up or earth up a certain amount of soil to cover that area. You're not burying the whole vine, though this does happen in places like China and even Canada, but you are just protecting the weakest point of the vine. So this is what we call earthing up, and that will reduce the effect of the winter freeze, which is settling above ground. Okay, so that is winter freeze complete. Remember, typically in questions around Malbec, so it might be included in a Malbec question if you're talking about the southwest of France, for example, or something around Canada. But it can be employed in areas that have less frequent problems with winter freezes, but they are still possible. So next up, in terms of a growing environment problem, is spring frost, which is a very common issue found in cool continental climates. This will be also transgressed to areas that are maybe cool maritime too, but it's much more significant in cool continental climates. To give you some examples, things like Champagne, things like Alsace, Burgundy, parts of the Loire Valley will all suffer probable spring frosts. So we need to understand what it is at the level 3 standard. We need to understand what it does to the vine. And of course, here it's asking for management techniques, but listing 3 management techniques. So let's have a look at this. So first of all, what is a spring frost? So spring frost, now you don't need to go into the details of the types of spring frosts. It's just describing a generic type of spring frost. Cold air below 0 degrees Celsius collects at ground level. And this could be with cold air just sweeping in, or the warm air that rises, leaving cold air below it, something like that. That freezes any water vapor that settled on the ground or on the vine. Okay, so this is below, crucially below 0 degrees Celsius, and there's 2 marks available for that, talking about the water vapor after that point. Okay, describe the effect on the vine. So of course this is happening in spring, and spring is the time of year when the vine is of course opening up from its dormancy during winter. So this is when all those carbohydrates stored in the vine are being put to work to grow the vine, those early stages that go through bud burst and then early shoot and leaf development. So therefore, the effect here is that it can kill newly burst buds or shoots, so those early shoots, reducing the yield and overall potentially the health of the vine. So those buds, of course, are containing all of the genetic code to grow the main shoots, which will have leaves, inflorescence, which will be the flowers, then berries. And of course, if these are being damaged or destroyed, that's reducing the yield. Okay, so that's the effect on the vine. And then here, the description here on the next question is list 3. So you don't need to go into too much detail here. It's just literally listing the answers, whereas before it's describing, where you have to write a sentence to describe it for 2 marks. For listing 3 management techniques here is actually saying things like heaters, wind machines, and the sprinkling system or aspersion. Okay, now if it said something like list and describe 3 management techniques, then it probably say something like 6 marks are available for that. And you would discuss that the heaters would actually create a warmer environment, stopping the frost from settling. Wind machines actually draw the warmer air from above down to below and then create extra air circulation, stopping frost from settling. And sprinkling through aspersion protects the bud with a frozen bit of water ice around the bud. It encapsulates it. I've not gone into too much detail about those because, of course, here on this question, it is not the most important. Okay, so that is the complete of spring frosts. Now, further questions on growing environment problems, such as intense sunlight, cloud cover, drought, and excessive rainfall, which is quite a big one. All of these will be covered in part 2, which is only available to the members of my e-learning portal at www.winewithjimmy.com. We'll go through all of those questions in great detail in the way that WSET would prefer them to be answered, hopefully giving you great confidence in really gaining the best marks possible in your examination. So please do go across to www.winewithjimmy.com to the e-learning portal. It looks something like this, where you can sign up to certain units. Here, there's actually level 1, 2, 3, and diploma on that one, but you'll of course only be signing up for level 3, and it will give you access to loads of exclusive video content, lots of short written answer questions, multiple choice questions, flashcards, and revision sessions. It's a real useful supplemented part to your WSET course. So I've been Jimmy Smith here at Wine with Jimmy. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I do hope that you have found this useful for your studies. As always, please, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can get in touch with me here at Wine with Jimmy by commenting on this video on YouTube, getting in touch by social media that you see at the bottom of every slide, or by direct at www.winewithjimmy.com. If you do find yourself in London town here in the United Kingdom, then you know I've got wine schools and a wine bar. So come and see me for a class, a glass, or a bottle. Ciao for now. Bye.